What is the function of this muscle? Gabby here from bootcamp.com, and in this dissection, we're looking at the medial aspect of the distal leg, as well as the medial aspect of the foot. So we know we're looking at the medial side because I can see the big toe or the hallux, and the hallux is going to be found on the medial side towards the midline of the body. So in this case here, we're looking at the medial side of the ankle. So this specifically right here is going to be the medial malleolus of the tibia. And then we're also going to be able to see in close proximity a ton of structures here that are traveling essentially from the leg to the foot or traveling from the foot to the leg. So this area here is referred to as a tarsal tunnel, and there are muscles, arteries, veins, and nerves that are found within that tarsal tunnel that we will be discussing today. I just want to point out that this muscle over here, this muscle is going to be the triceps surae. So remember, the triceps surae are our big calf muscles and is made up of three muscles. So the gastrocnemius, the soleus, and the plantaris muscles. And they essentially all come together to form a common tendon here called the Achilles tendon or the calcaneal tendon that goes ahead to insert on the calcaneus. So now let's just zoom in here to the tarsal tunnel and look at some of the structures that are found within. So a very cool mnemonic to help you remember the contents of the tarsal tunnel is to use Tom, Dick, and very nervous Harry. So let's break down that mnemonic. First, we have Tom, and Tom is going to represent the tendon of the tibialis posterior muscle, which is actually the structure that we have tagged here. So this tendon is actually going to be found most anteriorly within the tarsal tunnel. We then have Dick, who's going to be our flexor digitorum longus muscle. So we can see the muscle belly as well as the tendon of that muscle as it passes through the tarsal tunnel adjacent to the tibialis posterior muscle, and it's going to represent the arteries. So this right here is going to be the posterior tibial artery. So Tom, Dick, and very would represent the vein. The vein's actually been dissected away here, but the vein would be traveling adjacent to that posterior tibial arteries and essentially will be draining the blood that is coming from the plantar surface of the foot up towards the leg. So nervous is going to represent the nerve. So the tibial nerve is going to be traveling within the posterior compartment of the leg. It's going to descend and eventually enter into the tarsal tunnel, and then again eventually reach the more plantar surface of the foot. The last structure, right, we have Tom, Dick, and very nervous Harry. So Harry is going to be another muscle. We can see the muscle belly here. So Harry is going to be our flexor hallucis longus. So the muscle that is going to the big toe in order to flex the big toe. So those are the components of the tarsal tunnel. Let's just recap quickly. We have tibialis posterior. We have the flexor digitorum longus muscle. We have the posterior tibial artery. The posterior tibial vein should be here as well, but it's been dissected away. We have the tibial nerve. And then lastly, we have the flexor hallucis longus. So if we return to our question here, so what is the function of this muscle? So it's asking specifically for the function of the tibialis posterior muscle. So the tibialis posterior is going to originate along aspects of the tibia and eventually descend where it will go insert on the more proximal bones along the areas of the foot, such as the metacarpals. So when this muscle contracts, it's going to contract in this direction. It's actually going to pull the foot and invert the foot. So inversion of the foot is one of the primary functions of the tibialis posterior. Now, along with inverting the foot, the tibialis posterior is also going to be responsible for plantar flexing the foot. And the way that I like to remember that the tibialis posterior plantar flexes is because, the tibialis posterior is found in the posterior compartment of the leg, and we also have our major plantar flexors. So like I mentioned earlier, our triceps surae muscles are also found in the same compartment. They are found more superficially, of course, but nonetheless, they are still found in that posterior compartment. So they're all going to go and assist with plantar flexion of the foot. So as far as our question here, so what is the function of the tibialis posterior muscle? It plantar flexes the ankle and inverts the foot.